Good afternoon, everyone. We would like to welcome everyone to our second Community Conversations event, a look inside rare books and manuscripts. Before we get started, we wanted to remind you that you are in a Zoom webinar. We cannot see you, so feel free to turn your cameras off. Please also use the Q&A for questions. Please make sure you are addressing your questions to panelists and attendees. Someone else might have the same question that you do. Chat should be used for general questions or comments. Thank you for coming, and I will now pass the presentation to Jenny Duvernay, who will share the ASU Library Indigenous Land Acknowledgement.
Good afternoon. The ASU Library acknowledges the 22 Native nations that have inhabited this land for centuries. Arizona State University's 4 campuses are located in the Salt River Valley on ancestral territories of Indigenous peoples, including the Acamel, Otham, Pima, and Peeposh or Maricopa Indian communities, whose care and keeping of these lands allow us to be here today. ASU Library acknowledges the sovereignty of these nations and seeks to foster an environment of success and possibility for Native American students and patrons. We are advocates for the incorporation of Indigenous knowledge systems and research methodologies within contemporary library practice. ASU Library welcomes members of the Acamel, Otham, and Peeposh and all Native nations to the library. Good afternoon, everybody. I want, on behalf of the ASU Library, I'd like to welcome you to this very special community conversation. My name is Jenny Duvernay. I'm the Associate University Librarian for Communications and Donor Relations. I have the very great pleasure of introducing our conversationalist today. We have Julie Tanaka, who is a rare books and manuscripts librarian. She brings a passion for teaching and special collections, rare books, manuscripts, prints, and other objects to ASU's distinctive collections. And she invites everyone to come explore the collections. And I think you'll see her enthusiasm today. She really needs it, as she's been trying to help us understand there's something here to satisfy everyone's curiosity. And today, Julie is joined by Bob Beard. Bob is a Marine Corps veteran and double alumnus of ASU. He's a very proud Sun Devil. And in his work, he produces multimedia content, public programming, exhibitions, and experiences at the intersection of science, engineering, and the humanities for the Center for Science and the Imagination. With two decades of hands-on media experience paired with research in fandoms and other communities of practice, Bob's work focuses on creating spaces for intellectual curiosity, accessibility, and collaboration. And I'm very excited to see what Bob and Julie's conversation, where that takes us today. So I will pass it on to Bob and Julie.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Jenny.
Yeah. This is awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining me. I was kind of worried that you would say no, but...
No, I'm a big library nerd.
Really?
Yeah, huge. And I don't have like a library voice, so I'm not invited to libraries a lot. So this is really a treat.
Oh, that whole shh, that's gone out. We don't do that anymore.
I've been shushed by many a librarian, so well, this is a nice.
If you come here, I promise I won't do that.
No shushing.
No shushing.
So tell me about this. This is gorgeous. Like,
thanks.
I had no idea that. I know we've been away from campus for about a year or so, but I had no idea that this was here. Like, I didn't know that I could even walk in here.
You're not the only person.
Okay.
Who thinks that?
Okay.
So yes, we are here. It's a great location. We have, I think, one of the best views on campus. I mean, look at this.
Yeah.
The light tower thing and the palm trees and everything else.
It's
great
gorgeous.
view, right?
Yeah.
It's a nice new space, and theoretically it's been open over a year, but we were shut down for a little while for COVID, and then we reopened last August. And we've been open ever since by appointment, because most of our materials are stored offsite. So if you just show up and you want to use something, you'd be like, well, can you come back?
Right.
But that doesn't mean you can't come in. We're happy to have people here. If you want to come in, if you just have questions, say, what is this? What do you guys do? You're more than welcome to come in. So in your case, you came in.
I'm here. And the thing that I think strikes me the most is that when I walked in, I just expected, I don't know, I expected like a clean room, right? I expected to like have to go through some sort of like airlock and you know, be outfitted with gloves, but like, no, I mean, this is just part of the library.
We're a welcoming space.
Yeah.
We want you here. There have been times in the past I'm relatively new here, so I'm not exactly sure what they did way back when. But you know, there have been times when, yes, you had to come in and there's this long process and you had to basically prove that, you know, you were a human and that you had a particular type of blood and all this kind of stuff. Not the case anymore. We welcome you in. We do have certain procedures here, and that's part of it is standard procedure for special collections repositories.
Mhm.
Part of it is to help us make sure that we do make sure our collections don't necessarily walk out the door when we
Yeah.
don't know it and things like that. But still, we try to make it as welcoming as possible. We encourage people to come in to ask questions. No question is a dumb question. Yes, we welcome researchers. That's important, but you don't have to be a researcher to come in. We have a lot of cool stuff in our collections here, and we have a broad range of materials, time periods, geographies, types of stuff. And that's what made picking things to show you today and share with you so hard, because I'm like, I want to show this, I want to show that, I want to show this, but we only had an hour,
Yeah.
not just actually a little bit less than an hour. So I pulled some things, a few things that what you would probably expect to see here, or types of things you would expect to see here, and then some things you're like, really? Why are these in rare books?
Yeah.
And so I thought we could take a look at that.
Let's jump into it.
Excellent. So the first thing that I wanted to show you this morning is this wonderful manuscript.
Mhm.
And as you're taking a look at it, what do you notice? Just any initial reactions?
I mean, it looks like parchment, or yeah, and hand drawn. And I actually don't recognize the lettering. What is that?
Aren't you fluent in Italian?
I'm not. No, I missed that
Bob. Well, that's a
4-year program of study.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm not fluent in Italian either. So this is a manuscript of Leonardo da Vinci's, and it's written in Italian. It's an older vernacular that he's using. But as you're staring at the letters, even if you can't read the Italian, you're going to notice something that they look kind of strange.
That's what I was getting at. This doesn't look like any Romance language. Is it?
It is. Trust me, it is.
Is it backwards?
Yeah, you need a mirror, right?
Why?
Well, there's some debate over this, but one of them is Leonardo was left-handed, so one theory is that it was easier for him to write a little more quickly left-handed.
Okay.
Another theory is that he purposely wrote this way to make it more difficult for others to read what he was writing.
Okay.
Because you know your brain has to translate the backwards thing, or you need a mirror, right? So that's kind of up in the air, but nonetheless, it's written backwards from right to left. Another explanation is that this followed the Jewish practice of writing from right to left.
Okay.
So different hypotheses. Doesn't really matter. We know it's written from right to left.
So this is a Da Vinci manuscript.
It's a Da Vinci manuscript.
Okay.
And so you should be getting all excited. Wow, we actually have an original Da Vinci, right? Oh.
This is the one that you won't let me touch. So.
Well, no, you can touch it.
Can I touch it?
Yeah, you can touch it. You want to touch it?
I mean,
Here.
let me wipe the Cheeto crumbs off. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I didn't eat any Cheetos.
No Cheeto crumbs.
Okay. Yeah, this is a no Cheeto crumb. Okay.
Right. And everyone's probably going, you move that page, you're letting him touch it. Well, one point is Leonardo, when he did these, it was meant to be single pages like this.
Okay.
And our camera over here is probably going, bring that back. But they were meant to be single pages, but the other, and loose so that you could go through it. The other thing about this is it's a facsimile. It looks real. It's true to size. They've duplicated, even like when it's torn and things like that. The Giunti publishers in Italy, they've duplicated all of the imperfections and everything. True to size, printing technology, exactly, almost exact to the original manuscript. Not that I've ever seen the original manuscript, but you have to take my word on that.
Okay.
So you're like, well, why a facsimile, right?
Yeah.
Because that makes it accessible to people. How many people are going to be able to go travel to sit down to view the original manuscript? And you're going to ask me right now, well, where's the original?
Yeah.
It was purchased by Bill Gates. And so it's currently in the Bill Gates collection in Seattle. So it's a good reason to go to Seattle. But Bill Gates has also sent the manuscript on on exhibit throughout the world, not just in the United States, but it did go back to Bologna and was on exhibit there, and it went a few other places. So COVID kind of put an end to that, but his intention was to increase accessibility, to make this a public display.
Okay. So this was a Bill Gates project. Like he acquired this very expensive manuscript, and then he decided to make.
Well, he did digitize it, and there are new digital images that he made. And if you're a Windows user, I'm not, but if you're a Windows user, at some point in time, he released it as part of the Windows package,
okay,
as like screensavers or something. But this particular facsimile was done by the previous owner, who was Armand Hammer, and it was. His reason behind this was, this manuscript is so important. Leonardo's work is so important. It should be accessible. So when the manuscript was on display in Bologna, one of the Italian facsimile producers, top facsimile producers, is there. So they were able to produce this particular facsimile while the manuscript was on display. So that way they could check it for accuracy and everything like that. So.
Wow.
Yeah, and trust me, Bob. I mean, we've been sitting here talking about just this first piece for a long time here, and we could sit here and talk about it for a lot longer. But there's some other stuff too that we should probably look at, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, manuscripts. You expect to see manuscripts in special collections. We have those, but rare books. We're talking about rare books, right? So now we're going over to our rare books, and I pulled out a couple of books that are extremely dear to me.
Okay.
Because I normally work in the late 14th, 15th centuries, early 16th century. And the first piece that we're showing you here is from Theodore de Bry. He had a series of 30 volumes it was essentially a travel series. So this is part 3 on the Americas, and this is the volume on Brazil.
Okay.
And the image there, if we could zoom out a little bit, a bit graphic, so pardon me, but this was a representation of time. So the account that this particular image is in is from Hans von Staden. He was a German who went out on an expedition in Brazil, and he recorded his interactions. He was actually captured and held captive by the Tupinamba for a while, and he managed to convince them that I'm not French. Well, it's okay. And so they released him. And then when he got back to Germany, he wrote his account, and he had woodcuts in there of the natives and things like that. So if you focus in on the image on the left that's printed, that was the image that appeared in the original account by Hans von Staden. And then Theodore de Bry, when he reprinted von Staden's account, de Bry redid the images, and this time, instead of being woodcuts, they're metal engravings, so there's more detail. But Theodore de Bry his depictions are also a bit more violent and graphic. So these are European interpretations of the indigenous peoples, and you see 2 different Europeans interpretations.
Yes.
One is a European's interpretations of the indigenous peoples. The other one is a European's interpretation of another European's interpretation. So, these are important things to have in our collection, because you can study ethnography, you can study engravings, you can study woodcuts, you can study the text itself, history, European encounters over different time periods if you look at different items in our collection.
And this is a big volume. If we might be able to zoom out a little bit, this is a big book, right?
This one's not so big.
Okay,
it's about an inch thick.
But
right?
this is from when? This is centuries old.
Yeah. So the original accounts, Hans Verschan, that's from the mid 16th centuries, from like 15, I forget the exact date. I hate dates.
I'm a big nerd. Like, I legitimately have goosebumps when we're talking about like a very old book.
I used to, what's funny, because I used to, but then I work with this on such a regular basis now. It's like, oh yeah,
the thrill is gone.
The thrill's gone. But
sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's a valid point though. But that's what I want to bring to people, even though to me now it's like kind of a normal part of my day. This is the excitement I want to bring to people, because I remember the very first old book, as I would call it back then, that I got to touch after some finagling. It was the 1493 edition, Latin edition of Hartmann Schädel's Liber Chronicarum that we know as the Nuremberg Chronicle. And I was just like, oh my goodness, and just the impact of that. So I want to bring that same type of excitement to everyone else. And it doesn't have to be an old book like this. We have so many things in our collection that different things are going to get different people excited, and I'm here to do that. I want you to come in and do that.
That's really cool.
So So this is one book. There's a lot of stuff I could go on and on and on about, and there's another account after this. There's one of a French Jesuit, French Calvinist after this, but you'll have to come back so I can tell you more about
Please.
that. Or the other book I want to tell you about.
Mhm.
This is from Francisco Hernandez. It's not the first edition. It's a later printing from 1651 of essentially the source of medical stuff, right?
Okay.
So he went out, he was sent by Philip II to go look at the New World and, put together all the stuff that we don't know about in Europe. So plants, animals, and most of this focused on plants that had medicinal uses. So in proper fashion, the title page here that's being zoomed in and out on, you'll see the depictions of 6 natives,
Mhm.
European interpretations of what the natives look like, as well as at the top that we just saw the insignia of the Spanish monarchy. And we can sit here and analyze all the details and stuff, but we don't have time for that, so we won't do that.
So the other book that we were just looking at
Mhm.
was like a travel guide,
Mhm.
right? And was this like a field guide for the royalty? Like this is sort of like an academic text for them to go back over and pour over, and
not sort of academic, but still the intention was for it to be accessible because they wanted to increase European knowledge about the New World. I guess we're talking still fairly early, and it's not like everyone could just hop on a plane and fly out to the New World to go see things. So it was to bring information back to the people about the plants, the animals. There are some animals in here, even though most of it are plants.
Mhm.
And the peoples and things, right? Go out there, go take a look, and because we don't know, so we're not really sure what to tell us about, right? So there's a lot of information. And so he put this book together. It wasn't terribly well received by Philip, but that's okay. But nonetheless, this is the first time that Europeans have seen some of the items in there. And on the next page, right here, have any idea what that is? The one on the right?
The one on the right.
The other
there's
one.
There's a
There's a
like
cactus.
a cactus.
Yeah, the other one.
Okay, let's zoom over. Coffee?
Oh, that's a good guess. It's
Okay.
actually what I'm planning on going to go look for after we finish this. That's the cacao. So chocolate, right?
Uh-huh.
So that starts the account about the cacao tree and talks about the different types of cacao. I think there's, 4 or 5 different types. And then he talks about the uses. And one of the uses on the next page that he talks about is essentially it's a chocolate drink, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
the
hot
indigenous-
chocolate, right?
Yeah.
And he goes on to say, and if you drink this, you'll put on weight. And today we would say, well, how's that medicinal, right? And why is that good? It's medicinal because at this point in time, there were so many people that were emaciated or severely underweight that was a good thing. So it was medicinal. It was a way for people to put on weight.
Yeah.
So that's just one example. He has images of the agave. There's also the image of maize or corn,
Mhm.
which Europeans had already seen from an earlier German herbalist. But there's a lot of stuff in here, most of it real. There are a few things as you get to the end of the volume that are fictitious. There's one of a flying dragon. So come back and see it. See, there are all this cool stuff that you can come back and see. But the other point about this book is important is they came out to the New World and encountered this indigenous population in a language that they had no idea about, right?
Yeah.
So the names of the plants, because these didn't exist in Europe, they're like, what do we call this? And all they could come up with was the indigenous word for it. And so what happened is the indigenous spelling was Latinized, so they added Latin endings to it. So most of the titles here, as you focus in on, they're from Nahuatl, which was the indigenous language that he had, and then he added Latin endings on it, and then went on to explain what these things were in terms that the Europeans would be more familiar with. So there's a lot of research you can do on these.
So who would come in and pick up this book from you? Like who would ask to see this?
Anyone interested in natural history? Anyone interested in herbals? There's a center, I think, up in Scottsdale that focuses on natural medicine. They come in to use this collection. So this is part of the Patten Herbal, Marc and Doris Patten Herbal collection here. So they come in. If you're interested in indigenous peoples and their interactions with Europeans, this would be another text to look at.
So I want to go back on that. other people other than ASU researchers can come and use these books.
Absolutely. We're open to everyone.
That's super cool.
ASU is a public university.
Yeah.
We have an obligation to provide access to our materials, right? So yes, anyone, whether you're an ASU student or a faculty member, if you're an outside researcher at some other prestigious university somewhere, but you could be a resident in Mesa. It's okay, you can come in.
Just come in,
Yeah.
see. Yeah, wow.
Right. We've had a couple of high school students come in to work on research projects for a class and things like that.
Just wash your hands and then you can come in.
Yes, wash
Yeah,
your hands.
wash
No
your
white
hands.
gloves.
No
No
white
white gloves. No, because you can't feel, and you end up ripping pages more often. So clean hands.
Really?
Yeah.
Like the gloves are
The
like
gloves.
too sticky, then they damage the
Well,
pages? Or?
when you put gloves on, right? The
Yeah.
white gloves or even rubber gloves. Can you feel? Do you have? If you have a glove on and you do this, can you tell if it's rough or smooth? Not so much,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, clean hands.
So it's not so much the material of the glove, it's the fact that you're not feeling it and treating it with
yeah,
sort of
because
the
the
reverence it
the
deserves.
endings in your fingers, the part that lets you feel stuff,
Yeah.
you can't feel because you have a layer in between, right? It's like having a piece of paper in between you and the object.
Wow.
So, and gloves, I mean, I have funny shaped hands, so gloves don't fit me right. So there's usually too big up here, and then that's an entirely different issue. So no gloves.
Okay. Well,
So-
no gloves. We're going to take some questions from the audience in just a bit. So go ahead and submit your questions down in the chat. Is there anything? So these all look like things that Nicolas Cage would steal, right? Like, they're very
we do not encourage theft.
get out of here, Nicolas Cage. No, but these are all like very old, sort of like parchmenty sort of things. But you also have like something that I wouldn't expect to see in a rare books collection, and this is me pleading my own ignorance. So tell me about this. Tell me about what we're.
So that's what I did. I did exchange, right? Stuff that you would expect to see, and things you're like, why is that here?
Yeah. Look
So
at this. This looks like-
these look newer. These
Yeah.
look like things that you might have on your bookshelf at home, right?
well,
So
not my bookshelf. My daughter's bookshelf. Yeah.
I have these on my bookshelf.
Do you
at
really?
home. Yeah, well, not these
Not this one,
specific
yeah.
ones, like the cheaper versions, right?
Wow.
So I pulled out a couple of pop-up books. We have a pop-up book collection. Why, you say, why do you have a pop-up book collection?
Why do you have a pop-up book collection?
There was a faculty member at ASU, Gene Valentine, who had a pop-up book collection. He did research on this, and I'm assuming he probably just liked pop-up books too, but there's a lot of value in them. And so he gifted that to ASU Library. So it's now part of our collection. And since then, we've added more to it. So I've pulled out two examples. The one that you see right now is an earlier example of a pop-up book. And this one, it was highly regarded because of its accuracy and the depth. If you're looking straight on at it, you can see the depth of the room. Right? It's as if you're in the kid's bedroom, right? Looking in, and you can see the depth from the foreground to the background, so on and so forth. This was done by McLaughlin Brothers. They also did early board games. They have some really fabulous board games too. I haven't seen any in our collection, but they did make board games. And the one next to it, I found one that was done more recently, and this was done by Robert Sabuda, who's an award-winning pop-up book artist. And
So this is stunning. Like I'm looking at it, and I'm also
So
looking
what
at it
is
through the
that?
screen. This is Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
This is like the Queen of Hearts, right?
that's right.
This is like, I'm sorry that this screen does not do it justice. This is incredible.
You have to see this in
Yeah.
person. It's incredible. And the thing is, it's 360. You can walk around and you can see it from all sides. There's one at the very beginning where it's the big pop-up, I forget of the tree and everything. And then there's this other small thing here, and then you pull it up and it's the rabbit hole. When you look, you can look down and you see Alice falling down into it, right? So
Yeah.
there's all this cool stuff here. You're like, okay, well, there's entertainment value in this,
Sure.
but what else? There's research value in this too. We have a faculty member on campus here who's doing research on pop-up books for children's education and literacy, and how kids at different age groups interact with books. And part of it is when there's something like this that's engaging, where it has to be hands-on, because some of these have like the little tabs where you pull them and it makes the thing jump up and down. And,
Yeah.
and also just the turning the page and the excitement when something jumps out at you, that has a significant impact on how children learn to read and what they retain and things of that nature. So there's that. Also in this, it's a matter of paper engineering. So structure, right? So you could be in engineering and come in, or we have the design department here, the people who work in book arts.
Yeah.
And we had this other one that's a phenomenal piece of paper engineering by a book artist that I invite you to come in. It's huge. I was going to pull it out today, but we were experimenting. It was just too hard to photograph to give an idea. So please come back and see Julie Chen's panorama.
Okay.
All right. It's
love,
wonderful.
I love that. I wanted to go back really quickly. This pop-up book has a pop-up book inside of it.
Exactly. And he created little books within the book. Each page has one of these, and there's a little one. And inside of that, as you turn, there are more pop-ups in there.
That's insane. That's so cool.
Isn't that cool?
That's so cool.
So
wow.
You spend hours here. See?
Yeah.
Right. Entertainment, but their research value, design, the illustrations that his design work for the pop-ups, the illustrations are in the style of John Tenniel, the original illustrator for Alice in Wonderland. Okay. So there's a lot that could be done with this, even though you're like, these look like, kids' pop-up books.
Well, I mean, just like you said, the paper engineering alone, it's incredible.
And this one here, he designed it so that it goes from 2D to 3D back and forth without any issue. I mean, it's really a phenomenal book.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing that I brought out to you to show you today are a couple of artist books. These are contemporary artist books. Mm-hmm. And the first one that you see there, when you actually open it up and put all the pieces together, it forms a basket. This is done by a book artist who is of Cherokee heritage. And so that's a traditional Cherokee weaving pattern that she implemented. And then the book is done as a way of connecting her son with his grandmother. So there's an image of her grandmother on the front cover. And then when she was designing this, she happened to find out that she was pregnant. So then it was opportunity not only to, as a connection with her own grandmother, but also a way of connecting her son with his grandmother that he never had the opportunity to meet. And then there's poetry in there that folds out.
Did this come from the same donor, the same original collection?
No. So we actually purchased this. Okay. I purchased this past year, and we do have a small contemporary artist book collection. It's a very nice collection, and we have a good range of materials in it. But because we're in the Southwest and we have a very nice collection for Native American materials, this is part of the Library and National American Indian Data Center. I thought I would try to bring in some other materials to enhance the rare book and manuscript collection that also complements some of our other collections that are specific to this area, because all of the universities now have a contemporary artist book collection. That's great, right? How do we make ours different? So I'm trying to add more items that represent underrepresented voices, Native American, indigenous populations. I'd like to start to expand to include more of our local regional artists. Sky Tafoya, who's the book artist for this one, she does have roots in New Mexico, so that's still within our region. So I felt okay, bringing this in as well. But speaking of that, the next artist book, it's a portfolio. This one is very regional. It's the Southwest Regional Book Arts Association, and this was gifted to ASU. All of the individual artists in here agreed to gift their work to ASU. But what's even better about this one is it shows collaboration between ASU Library and the Pre-Raphaelite Press here and Dan Meyer. Dan Meyer is the regional director, the Southwest regional coordinator for all of this. And the two of us have been talking and starting to work together more and more. And he contacted me to see if we'd be interested. I'm like, oh, absolutely, because it fits within our collection here. It's specific to the region. It has one of our faculty members as a contributor here. And that's the gorgeous piece that you see, just barely see the other way. It's the one that has that blue, right there. Right.
There it is.
That was a joint piece by himself and another book artist in California. But what's even more interesting is this is almost unique to ASU.
Mhm.
16 copies were produced. 2 are archived at the College Book Arts Association. There's 2 additional copies they reserved to sell for future fundraising. Each of the artists have a copy. There's 1 other copy that was reserved for something. Oh, for auction maybe, or something like that. And guess what? ASU has the other copy. So 16 copies.
Yeah.
We have 1 of 16 copies. So this is something, if someone came in to do research, not a whole lot of other people are going to have access to it. Because think about it, the book artists each have a copy, right?
Mhm.
So those, I don't think they're saying, well, yeah, come to my house, check this out, right?
Sure.
So these are some of the unique items. Even though this was produced last year, this is something in our collection that has value for multiple purposes. Design department, book arts, art. I'm sure if you're in, and the theme for this is environment. So,
Mhm.
There's a huge commitment to the environment at ASU. So anyone interested in the environment could come in, and there's a lot more to be said about the techniques and the materials that were used for this, and how they also relate to the environment. But I can't tell you that. Dan Meyer would be more than happy to help fill in the blanks on those.
So when a researcher comes in and wants to spend time with this text, do you also sort of do some like matchmaking with people who might be able to give additional context to the book?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes. It's always kind of a judgment call about the information. Sometimes if the researcher comes in and they'll ask, is there someone else? If it's ASU faculty, I'll put them in touch, because that's public record,
Yeah.
right? Anyone can look up who does what here.
Mhm.
But sometimes, there are other researchers, and you have, for privacy issues, sometimes you can say, well, if you're willing, I'd be happy to pass your information along to someone else. And, we work that way. So.
Excellent. So I think we got a few questions from the audience. So if I can just
Excellent.
scroll right over here. Okay, so Jennifer asks if there's a list of what is contained in the collection somewhere. Is there a place where we can see all of these things, or?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So a good part of our materials you can find in the library catalog. So was it library.asu.edu, or is it lib? I think it's lib.asu.edu. And that's our public catalog. So you can look things up, keyword search, titles, if you know authors, if you know specific items you'd like to see. Takes a bit of work, because then you have to scroll down, and sometimes, you're looking for, I just want to see the things in special collections. That takes a little more work to figure out how to do, but it'll at least give you an idea. And if you click on enough buttons, you want to look for something that says like rare books and manuscripts or something like that. But anyway, better yet, just drop me an email. I'd be happy to help you out.
Awesome.
Some of our materials, like the archival collections that we have, manuscript collections, like letters and things of that nature, those you can find in Arizona Archives Online.
Okay.
Just Google it and the link will pop up, and click on its fastest way. So you'll find some there. But unfortunately, not all of our materials have been either processed or cataloged, so they're not necessarily discoverable in either the library catalog or in Arizona Archives Online. We're a little bit short-staffed, so we're working on this, but we're getting there. But that said, that's why we're here for you, right?
Sure.
If you're interested and you can't find something, drop us a line. You could drop it and ask an archivist. The link is on our website. Or you can send me or any of my colleagues an email, and we'd be happy to help you out. And if I'm not the right person, I get the email, I'm gonna transfer you to whoever can help you out. One of my other colleagues.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So with these different collections that are here, is there a different sort of collection librarian, or are you that person?
Fortunately, no, I am not that person.
Okay.
So my main area that I oversee is technically called the Rare Book and Manuscript Collection. So rare books, like you saw here, artist books. We also have manuscript collections. We have the William Burroughs collection, among many others. But we have the Greater Arizona collection. So Renee James is our curator for that collection. University Archives, Shannon Walker, the Chicana collection, Nancy Godoy, Latin Americana, which is one of our newer collections, and that's slowly developing, CNA Valiant, and we're going to have a new collection emerging. So we're in the process of hiring a curator for that collection. It'll be Black collection, the Black collections that are coming up. And I know I just forgot a collection. I'm probably going to get yelled. Oh, child drama is around. That one we're in the process of finding a new curator for.
Yeah.
We have the largest child drama collection in the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive collection. Harold Housley right now is filling in temporarily, but he's also the curator for the design and architecture collections. So
awesome.
Yeah. So there are a lot of us floating around here. We also have an archivist who's overseeing the John McCain Papers project right now.
So another question from, let's see. So Elizabeth was very excited for the piece on brine shrimp. So there is really something for everyone here.
We'll see. Elizabeth, please come in to see brine shrimp.
Come see the brine shrimp. Don't miss it. Yeah, let's see. So Patty asked, do you have a favorite story about one of the items and how it got into the collection?
Oh, geez, that's such a hard question. It's hard to say, pick out favorite items, because then it feels like you're making a hierarchy, and that's not what this is about, because there's something for everyone. So if I say this is my favorite item, it kind of gives the impression that it could be more important or more valuable or something like that, and that's not the case. Even some of when first glance it looks like the most trivial thing out there, that could be someone else's favorite item, could be very important, because we all have different experiences, right? And that's what's great about this. We all bring our individual experiences to our interactions with these materials. So I'm going to come in, I'm a native Californian from the Bay Area. So if I come in, I might see something that I'm like, oh, wow, right? Because it depends on like the area I grew up in, what I did, what I was interested in, and things like that. Where someone else isn't going to have that same connection because they didn't grow up in the Bay Area. Let's say they grew up in Portland, Maine, or perhaps in South Bend, Indiana. I spent some time in South Bend, so that's why I'm using that as an example. Very different there than it is from where I grew up, right? So those different types of experiences and backgrounds, it affects how you interact with items, right? You're not going to like the same thing that I like. Same object here, we're going to have two different reactions to.
Yeah, right? And be looking at it for different reasons too, right?
We might both be excited, but for different reasons, right? So this is why I like people come in and something that I'm really excited about, they look and they try to be nice. Oh yeah, that's interesting. And you can tell it just didn't capture their imagination, but it's okay, right? Because then they're looking at something else over here that I pulled out just to be representative. Maybe not, it doesn't capture my attention in the same way, but that's what got them excited. And it's like, well, that's cool. Okay. And then you run with it. So then I have the conversation with them and I ask them questions to find out more about what they see in it and what excites them, because I learn just as much from the people who come in as hopefully I hope I learn more from them than what I can impart to them about some of the items. So it's an exchange.
Well, and you can make those connections too. It's like, oh, if you like this, there's.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you're really interested in that. We have more stuff. And how about this? And then there's always that weird item that you could pull out that they may have never run across on their own, but then all of a sudden they're like, oh, what's that? And you start to have the conversation, and then hopefully maybe it's not something they're always going to come back to see, but they know that it exists and they know now they're a bit more informed, right? It's all part of it. It's a learning experience.
So I do have a question about, there's something for everyone. And I want to go back up to this question because this one's something. Jim says, apologies for the morbid question, but I heard ASU Library has a book that's bound, again, apologies, in human skin. Is that true?
Okay, so I have not heard that here at ASU, but like I said, I'm relatively new. I started in May of 20. However, the institution I was at previously, same thing. It was like campus rumor for years and years and years that Notre Dame held a book bound in human skin. Well, it was a volume of Pico della Mirandola, and that was the rumor that was bound. And when you opened it up, there were news clippings like pasted into it. Please don't do this. But anyway, there were like newspaper clippings pasted into it that said, this volume is bound in the skin of a Moorish chieftain, and it used to be owned by Christopher Columbus. And we're like, mhm. Anyway, so our conservation department and curators, we all got together and decided to put this to the test. So we worked with the New York City medical examiner's office, and
wow.
then eventually Harvard came into play as well. And they did a full analysis of it, and 99.7% sure that it's pig skin.
Okay.
So,
All right.
but there are books out there that are made of human skin, oftentimes as a tribute to the subject.
Mhm.
And there's another book that came out recently, I want to say 2, maybe 3 years ago now, where the researcher was looking at books bound in human skin, and a lot of these were prisoners, the skin of prisoners, again, for medical purposes. So there are books out there.
Wow.
And
All right.
look-
So there is no Necronomicon in the library that we know
Not
about.
here that I know of.
Cool.
We may, but I don't know of it yet.
Just say like obsequium clatu nicto, or just see what happens. Like if it's here, something will happen.
Most likely. yeah,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
let's not. Dude,
Okay.
I already did. It's not here because no dark storm clouds came around us. Okay,
Oh,
so
good.
I think we might have another couple questions. Jennifer says, I'm a massive history fan. I love old books. The older, the better. And are there any job opportunities for working in the archives at ASU or locally? I'm a bio major, but I love history.
Yeah, well, we do hire student employees here.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, I have a English graduate student who has been working for us for about a year now, or not, no, I take that back, not quite a year, 7 months, 8 months. So there are student opportunities. There are also opportunities when the library has positions open, they post to our employment site. Sometimes, matter of fact, we were just going through a process for hiring someone to help out in the reading room. So there are opportunities, and it just depends. So keep your eyes posted.
Okay. Yeah. So any opportunities for me to just like come and hang out here?
Absolutely.
Okay. Like I don't need to be researching anything. I can just like page through old books all day.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
As long as we're here.
I'm gonna
right?
yeah. Don't come
I'm not gonna leave you in here by yourself, because you might walk out with the book.
I would never, but
Well, I won't let you.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't let you sit here by
I'm
yourself.
also going to tase you.
I would not do that.
Okay. All right. Well, we have an agreement then.
Okay.
Let's see. Elizabeth says one time Wayne Newton donated something to the library. He pulled up in a limousine to the mailroom, as I recall. I can't remember what he donated, but he kissed my hand. Do you know anything about the Wayne Newton?
I do
book?
not.
Okay.
But Elizabeth is welcome to come in and inform me more about this entire event.
We want to hear all the Wayne Newton stories. So if anyone has a Wayne Newton story, Julie will entertain it.
I can tell you there are quite a few stories here that I've heard from my colleagues who have been here much longer than I have, and the stories that they tell about donors who have come, or just visitors, students. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on,
Okay.
which is good library-wide. But now we want those stories to tell about people coming into distinctive collections, to use distinctive collections and archives. Questions. We do instruction here, so we're happy to have classes, visitors, researchers. Now that hopefully COVID is coming under control, hopefully, we'd like to start doing more public events with speakers, informal drop-in sessions, things of that nature. We don't have a formal physical exhibit program here because we don't have a secure exhibit space, but we're in the process right now of trying to establish and launch a digital exhibit program so that people could see our collections online and then go, oh, I want to see that because it looks cool on the screen, but I can't see everything, right?
Yeah.
Just like some of the objects that you saw here today, the basket that we showed you, the paper basket, it folds flat. It's absolutely flat. And then you have to open up the cover, right? So it's like a French style refrigerator. So this side opens and this side opens. And then it's flat, and you have to flip the panels up and go through. And as you're doing this, it's all interactive.
Yeah, there's a
and then
tactile that you get,
when you
don't get
flip
from-
it over, right, it's the bottom of the basket. So it's the bottom of the book, or what would be the back side of the book when it's closed, that has the same weaving pattern. So, but you can't see that out here,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, it loses something
This is-
just looking at it on screen. I mean, even like our guests today, we're looking at it on a screen, and I mean, you have to be here.
you have
So,
to be here.
yeah.
And the other thing, the books that I showed you at the beginning, we focused in on the images and
Mhm.
we were talking about the text and who did what and everything, but you totally lose out on the book. And I'm going to disappear from the screen and come over here and geek out a little bit. Right. Sorry, I'm going to move this. But look at this, Bob. You're going to see the cover here, the binding. Look at the leather.
Wow.
Right? This is what we call blind stamped and blind tooled. Look at the detail down here. Can you get that? Right. And then as I turn it, look at how pretty that is on the spine.
That's gorgeous.
Right. But you're seeing this now, you're like, oh, look at all the details. This is great. But guess what? You can't feel it sitting over there.
No, I can't. I'm very jealous.
You're very jealous.
I'm very jealous.
It feels so good. And then you open it up. Oh, yes. And right. I'm going to show you something that you didn't get to see earlier. You were asking me about different things.
Yeah.
We were talking about, European views of the indigenous populations and all that. But check this out. Not only you could be an ethnographer, anthropologist, historian, but check this out. You could also be a cartographer.
Oh, wow.
So Matt Toro up in the map and geospatial unit, he should come bounding down here right now, super excited because I have a map. Right.
That's incredible.
For the time period, this is one of the most accurate representations of South America. You're probably looking at it going, it looks a bit strange, but
Well,
given
sure.
the
Yeah, but at the
technology and
time,
knowledge for the time, right? But look at this. It's absolutely gorgeous. And you even have the sea creatures here. Fun things.
that is quite the catfish.
Yeah. So there's a lot here. So you can come in and you could use this particular volume for different things. I may not be interested in the map, but someone else might be.
Yeah.
You could be interested in the history of cartography and looking at how cartography has changed, the techniques that were used. I work in late 15th, early 16th century printed German text. And sometimes when I see a map, I'm like, that's weird. It's upside down. And then so you turn the book 180 degrees and you're like, oh, now it's right side up. But you go, oh, wait a minute, no, it's supposed to go the other way. So start asking questions like this, right?
Yeah. That's beautiful.
But isn't that gorgeous?
That's amazing. So here's a very important fundamental question based on everything that we've been talking about today. Where is the Rare Books collection located? Where are we? Like, how can anyone get here?
We're at ASU.
Yes. Go on.
Okay, so the Rare Books and Manuscript Collection is part of Distinctive Collections and Archives here at ASU.
Mhm.
Rare Books and Manuscript is like the Greater Arizona Collection, University Archives. We're one of the so-called featured collections, I guess would be a good way of describing it.
Mhm.
But we're part of the overall library collections for ASU Libraries. Our home base is Hayden Library on the Tempe campus. And I know some people are off at either at the West Campus, Polytechnic Campus, downtown Phoenix. I think there's a Lake Havasu campus, right?
Yeah.
But we're here, we're home based here on the Tempe campus. First floor, ground level is where the reading room is by the west entrance. This is one of the new entrances because before you used to have to go down and then come back up.
Yeah.
Guess what? You can come straight in now. So we're located on the first floor of Hayden Library.
Just look for the lantern out there in the middle of the courtyard. Come to the lantern.
Look for the
and
lantern.
then just face directly east, and you can walk in those doors.
Sure, I'm
Sure.
terrible with directions.
I think that's right. Just look for the lantern.
Just look for the lantern and then turn around.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's an entrance right there. And we're on, as soon as you walk through the entrance, the reading room is right on the left-hand side. It says Wurzburger Reading Room, which we're fortunate to have. Thank you to the generosity of Marilyn Wurzburger.
Who was a Rare Books librarian herself?
She used to be the former head of special collections
Okay.
here. And she was, prior to that, she became the Rare Books cataloger from being a regular cataloger, from what I understand. And she provided many, many, many years of service to ASU Library. And she's still around. As a matter of fact, she was down here in person the other day.
That's cool. Yes.
So, and she's a phenomenal lady. So,
Always read the plaque, because I read that plaque on my way in here.
did you
So
really?
I did, yes.
It's a nice plaque,
I
isn't it?
sounded very, very knowledgeable.
Well, that's good. It's
Yeah.
always good to sound knowledgeable.
I thought
Right.
so.
But you have to sound knowledgeable, but you should still sound welcoming and inviting, right?
Yes.
We're here to share, and all of us have, myself and the rest of my colleagues here throughout the library, we all have our areas of
Mhm.
of expertise, so-called expertise, right? And I could sit here and talk to you about all kinds of minute things that probably no one else cares about. Maybe one or two other people might, but that's not the whole point of it. The point is to share knowledge, to inform people, and just get people interested and spark the curiosity, right?
Mhm.
I'm going to tell you a couple things, and you might not care about 98% of what I say, but if there's one or two things in there that sparks your curiosity to make you go explore something else, I did my job.
Yeah.
So that's why I invite everyone to come back in here
It's
find something.
it's incredible. And there's just treasures everywhere, right? There's something for everyone.
There's
so.
something for everyone.
And I want to say, one of the things that we talked about just over email before I came in here was this idea that books are meant to be used. And,
Yes.
and I wondered if you might just talk about that as a philosophy that sort of drives this.
Not just books.
Yeah.
All of our materials are meant to be used. We're not here to become the vault to keep something for the next 1,000 years. What's the point if it's locked away and people can't use it?
Yeah.
Right. I know there's discussions, well, but if it's used too much, it might break or it might fall apart. Well, that's a risk that is very much a concern, but that's why we have certain procedures in place to help us try to preserve the integrity, the structure of the book or object or whatever as best as possible for as long as possible. But I don't know of anything that's meant to last forever. And the value of imparting knowledge and making it possible for people to use it and to learn and to like keep their minds going and be creative, that's far more important than something being around 1,000 years from now.
That's incredible.
So,
That's a beautiful sentiment. It's a great place to put the bow on this. I could stay here all day. Apologies to folks that we didn't get to answer your questions. But
the questions we didn't get to, we will respond to you if you drop an email in so that we know how to get a hold of you to answer your question. Do that and be happy to respond to those.
Yeah, or just come to the library.
Oh, that's a better idea.
That's a good one, right?
Yeah, it's a better one.
Yeah.
Come and ask in person.
Yeah, there you go.
I like that one.
We'll throw it back to Jenny.
Well, thank you so much, Julie and Bob. This was so exciting. I had also never heard the rumor about the human skin bound book. So I'm not muted. I was muted. Sorry. Thank you, Julie and Bob. This was a really great conversation. I was really excited to hear so much about the different parts of the collection that I also did not know about, even though I've been working here a long time. So thank you all for attending. We really appreciate your time and your attention, your great questions. You will be receiving a survey afterwards. We want to continue this new series and we want to know what other kinds of conversations you would like to be a part of. So thank you very much and have a great day.